Hi, and welcome to Lambda U. My name is Gretchen Hubbard, and I'm a Senior Solutions and Support Scientist at LICOR. In this lesson, we will discuss the science behind detection of your chemiluminescent Western blots, followed by my colleague Carol, who will review best practices. After the final wash step following secondary antibody incubation, we are ready to detect our protein on the membrane. Let's start with understanding chemiluminescence in a little more detail. We will focus on detection of horseradish peroxidase, known as HRP, labeled secondary antibodies, since these are the most commonly used for chemiluminescence. Chemiluminescence is the production of light from a chemical reaction. Two chemicals, luminol and hydrogen peroxide, react to form an excited, high-energy intermediate. This breaks down, releasing some of its energy as photons of light at about 450 nanometers until it reaches ground state. Chemiluminescent reactions do not release much heat because energy is released as light instead. In a typical chemiluminescent assay, the light emitted is usually of low intensity and does not last long enough to enable accurate detection and analysis. To address this issue, most commercially available luminol is supplied with a chemical enhancer, so the reaction can proceed for prolonged durations without any significant reduction in light output. Therefore, chemiluminescence is often referred to as enhanced chemiluminescence, or ECL. By enhancing the luminol reagent, the light emission is increased more than 1,000-fold, so you can detect very small quantities of proteins. In most cases, the light emission stabilizes in about 2 to 5 minutes, and depending on the quantity of the reactants, may last from a few seconds to several hours. The light emissions are captured with X-ray film or a digital imager. A digital imager, often called a CCD camera system, provides higher sensitivity, greater resolution, and wider dynamic range than film. Despite the advantages of using digital imaging devices, it is interesting to note that a lot of researchers still prefer to capture their data on film, since this was the original method of detection when Western blotting was developed. The two most common methods for ECL detection are the horseradish peroxidase HRP and alkaline phosphatase AP systems. For either detection method, a substrate is required in order to produce photons of light that can be measured. Both HRP and AP systems allow for high sensitivity of targets. One difference is the signal duration produced from the substrates. HRP substrates typically produce signals that give a maximum response in minutes to hours, while AP substrates produce signals that can last for 24 to 48 hours. HRP is more commonly used for chemiluminescent Western blots because it is more economical. But HRP is inactivated by azides, and it should not be used with buffering systems containing compounds such as sodium azide. AP can be used as an alternative in this case, but it should not be used in the presence of phosphate buffers, which can also affect its ability to function. Since HRP secondary antibodies are most commonly used for ECL Western blots, we will focus on the substrates available for this type of detection. There are several different substrates that can be used for HRP-labeled secondary antibodies. They differ in the strength of signal that they produce, which we refer to as rate, and the signal duration. Substrates can be grouped into 3 major classes: low sensitivity, medium sensitivity, and maximum sensitivity. Low sensitivity substrate is typically used for detection with X-ray film. The intensity of light emission is low, and it has a signal duration of just a few minutes. The medium sensitivity substrate has a higher intensity of light emission and a longer signal duration up to a few hours. The maximum sensitivity substrate has the highest intensity of light emission and the longest signal duration of up to 24 hours. Both medium and maximum sensitivity substrates tend to have the flexibility for both X-ray film and digital imaging. There are several factors that can affect the rate of an ECL reaction, including time, temperature, and substrate concentration. Carol will discuss what steps to take to reduce the variability of this enzymatic reaction in the best practices section, after we discuss the Western blot detection protocol.